Good morning. Welcome to the latest edition of Miami Hurricanes Talk with Danny, presented by Lorraine Sports and Canes Connection. Give them a shout out at go to canesconnection.com to join today. My guest this week, if you're in the state of Virginia, this man needs absolutely no introduction anywhere in the state of Virginia. He's Mike Burnop. He's the longtime color analyst for the Virginia Tech Hokies. Canes and the Hokies Saturday night, 7:30 on the ACC network. Mike has a few minutes to join us. Mike, good morning. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, good morning. It's good to be back with you again and sweating out this rain a little bit, but hopefully we'll be in good shape Friday night.
Yes, it should be fine in South Florida. The thing, Mike, I look at is 42 years as the analyst for Virginia Tech. From what you've seen over the years? I mean, what's it like seeing all the great ones pass through Tech?
It's been a heck of a ride. Never thought it would last that long, but somebody last year said that I had done 500 consecutive football games in a row. I didn't even know that.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing to think that that's happened. But 42 years, that tells you I'm an old mofo. But I've seen it all, my man.
Yeah.
You think
Yes.
about it. Coach Beamer, I watched every play of his whole career. I watched his press conference when he got hired. I watched it when he retired. I've been through Coach Fuente and a few years of Bill Dooley before Coach Beamer and now Brent Pry. So I've seen the highs, the lows, the ups and downs, and everything in between.
Yep, you've named it. You've done it. Yeah, last week, I looked to it like last week against Rutgers. To me, when I watched them on film, I mean, Virginia Tech's defense did okay, but they had some lapses in the fourth quarter. Talk about that if you can.
It was interesting. The big lapse was after the Hokies came back and scored two touchdowns in the fourth quarter and got two PATs, 2-point conversions, which is really hard to do. They tie the game up at 23 all, and I'll be daggone if they don't give up a 63-yard pass play that takes them down there and they end up getting a field goal out of that drive. And then the
Hmm.
Hokies get the ball back, and Kyron Drones throws an interception.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, that was the difference in the game, the 3 points. But yeah, that lapse there was the one that really hurt them bad.
yeah,
Hokies just couldn't seem to get over the hump on that. And they
yeah.
had some other lapses during the game. Rutgers had a nice plan with the ball getting out in the flat several times. They couldn't cover very well. But yeah, they had their chance to win. They just couldn't close it out.
Now, how do you now this week? Miami and for Miami, our fans here, conference play begins. Um, how are they preparing to deal on a short week? I know Miami has a short week too, with dealing with Cam Ward and that explosive offense.
Well, they got their hands full. There's no doubt about it. So, I think when you talk to the players and coaches, the one of the first things they said was, "We're glad we don't have to wait 7 full days to play another game. It's only 6." But it is a short week, a condensed week. So what happened is they come in Sunday and they combine Sunday and Monday, and then Tuesday becomes basically a Monday practice, and they shorten everything by day. And then you got to turn around and travel on Thursday and just hope that all the travel goes smoothly because you're kind of flying right into the storm.
Yeah.
And so it's a short week, but Cam Ward's a handful. He's having an unbelievable year. He's friends with Kyron Drones. So that's going to be a fun matchup to watch the game within the game between those two. But he's off to a tremendous start, putting up incredible numbers, over 50 points a game. So they know they got their hands full and they're going to have to play really, really well for 60 minutes. The bottom line is they played good in spurts, but not a full game yet.
No, and I look at Brent Pry. I mean, Brent Pry has done a pretty good job turning that team around. But I don't know. I mean, when I look at Virginia Tech, I mean, to me, the running game really stands out. You had Tootin Roy for 3 touchdowns last week. Talk about number 33 on for Virginia Tech.
Bashal Tootin he's a really good player. I think he might lead the country in broken tackles. So
Hmm.
he's a guy that can get after it. He's got low center of gravity. He can run over you. He can run around you and run through you. He can catch passes out of the backfield. He was returning kicks there for a while, but he kind of got banged up a little bit. So they've kind of taken that away from him right now. But good things happen when he has the ball in his hands. I think he's got 8 total touchdowns this year. And so he's a heck of a player. And nobody's really been able to run against Miami's defense. I think Florida had 139 yards, but nobody
Hmm.
else has had more than 60, 62 yards. So That's going to be interesting to see if the Hokies can get any traction on the ground against that Kane defense.
Yeah, and I've looked at Tootin like 3 touchdowns, like you said. The thing I look at is that power read got shut down last week uh by Rutgers. Uh we know Drones is the kind of guy that can hurt you with his legs. Uh what do you think Drones the key to this game will have to be on Friday? Like you said, play 60 minutes. What does the offense of Virginia Tech have to do against that vaunted Miami defense?
Well, the first thing is they got to take care of the ball. They have lost a turnover battle in 2 games, including last week, and they've lost both games. The
Mhm.
2 games that they won a turnover battle, they won both games. So that's the first thing, first and foremost. Jones has got 4 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. That's not good enough. And so he missed on some deep balls last week when he had Felton wide open in the secondary twice. So he's going to have to hit some of those long balls and try to get vertical against the Kane defense. And they're going to have to try to establish the run and see if they can get Tootin going because, some teams have tried to really make it an effort to take the running game away from Drones, kind of bottle him up and make him throw. And, they've had some success with that. So I think the only game he really had a good running game was against Old Dominion. But that's not the Miami Canes defense.
No, not even close. And I looked at last week what Rutgers did. Uh, they had the Rutgers backs, Monangai and Brown, went for a combined 144. How are they preparing to stop 3 or 4 backs like that?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I think the front four did a pretty good job last week. Everything we talked about during the week was, you got to stop Monangai, you got to get him on the ground, and they did a pretty good job against him. And I think he came up and ended up having to have some tape on his
Ooh.
right calf, so he might not have been quite at 100%. But they understand the task. The Miami's got some great running backs, great running game, big offensive line, and those front four guys are going to have to occupy some of those gaps and help those linebackers out. The linebackers did not play very well against Rutgers, and
No,
that's
not
a real problem. They're banged up a little bit, and you don't want those Kane backs to get that second level too quick because that'll be a real problem.
yeah. So we saw that. I was at the game last week. I mean, when you talk about the running game, I mean, people here complain about we're not running the ball and more. Like Cam Ward is like, wow. The thing I noticed about Cam Ward, Mike, is when the opponent gets a score. In the past, Miami would tend to fall apart. Momentum would go the other way. I do not see that with Cam Ward in this Miami office. How they come right back at you after a score and they make a big play.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, he's a tremendous quarterback. He's had an unbelievable year so far, just setting records that have never been seen before in the ACC with the touchdown passes and the 300 yards and whatnot. He's a terrific player, and he can obviously run, but he doesn't have to run much, which is probably good, keep him healthy. But they've done a great job protecting him, giving him time. And you got some guys that can catch the ball and get vertical and get deep. And that's certainly a big plus. So when you got so many weapons around him, that definitely helps matters.
No doubt about it. Keys to the game. My keys to the game is just basically do what Miami's been doing. Cam Ward, running game, get the drones for 4. Don't let them beat you running. Let them beat you throwing. What would be the keys to a Virginia Tech upset on Friday night?
Well, number one, they got to win the turnover battle. Number two, they got to get good play out of Kyron Drones. He hasn't been very comfortable thus far. He's got to stay on schedule. And I think you got to get the running game going. And then the other thing is the other big thing would be to limit the explosive plays from Miami's offense. That's the thing. If they could do that and kind of win that explosive play battle, that would certainly go a long way to lead them to a victory. But it's
Another
going to
thing,
be a tall task.
another thing I look at, Mike, and it was a problem with us in the first half last week, penalties. Miami cannot commit stupid penalties, and they committed 8 in the first half for 80 yards. They cut that down in the second half. One thing Virginia Tech, and I'm looking at, I think you cannot, Virginia Tech, if they are to win this game, cannot commit dumb penalties.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, those are the things that set you back. Field position, the starting field position last week was critical for Virginia Tech. Rutgers had a big advantage in that department. And they also had the ball for like 40, almost 40 minutes of the 60-minute game. And so the Hokies can't get themselves in that position. They fought back hard to tie the game, but you got to play 60 minutes and you can't take a series off a playoff. And if you do and you have a bad one, you better shake it off and look ahead, not behind, because the Canes are good enough to come and just make you look really bad.
Oh yeah. All right, Mike. I'll get you out of here on a prediction. Prediction for Friday night.
I think the Hokies are going to have to play really, really well to win the game. I mean, the spread is like 19. So unless Miami commits some critical errors, the Hokies get some turnovers, it could be a long day for Virginia Tech. But, we've seen some crazy games, crazy scores this year through 4 weeks of the season. So anything can happen on any given day, especially in this series, this rivalry. And you just never know. A few years ago, the were reeling. They were 2-2 at that point, came down there and Miami had some turnovers and they led the game, I think 28-0 at the half, hung on to win. So you just never know, but they're going to have to play really, really well to win.
I think for Miami, it's basically don't turn the ball over. Uh,
Yeah.
don't commit stupid penalties, and most importantly, make sure do not let the thing I've noticed about Virginia Tech over the years has always been the MO. Special teams, defense, and a strong running game.
Yeah. Well, the special teams have hurt them this year a little bit. They had a fumbled punt last week, gave Rutgers a short field, which they scored on. They've had a punt blocked this year. They've had a field goal blocked. And, they've had some good punt returns and whatnot. But special teams right now has been a little bit of an issue. Good
Wow.
punter, but so do you guys have a great punter.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it could boil down to something in special teams that changes the momentum of the game.
I mean, are they getting away from Beamer ball in reference to that?
No, they're not trying to. I mean, Frank's here at every game just about, unless Shane is playing in South Carolina. Sometimes he'll go down there and watch that game. But no, they're trying to stick with it and make a big deal out of it. And somebody wears the number 25, Coach Beamer's jersey. Somebody wears that every week. And they make a big deal out of it, but they got to be better all around in special teams.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna if it comes down to special teams, then Andy Borg Gallus is the kind of guy
Yeah.
that could come up big in a big spot. I mean, he's one of the best kickers in the country. So I think I gotta think, Mike, my prediction will be Miami 35, Virginia Tech 17. That's gonna be the way I go for it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
sounds
I
right.
could see it. I could see it. Hokies got to play good. That's for sure.
Mike, thank
Miami's
you
got to
very
roll.
Mike, thank you very, very much for coming on. Greatly appreciate it. I know we're going to be safe here in Tampa. And of course, hopefully everything's safe back and down in Destin and everything's okay up there.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and good to be on with you, and look forward to doing it again somewhere down the road, brother.
Thank you, my friend. Hopefully I'll get up to Blacksburg.
Yep. Okay. Sounds
Take care.
good.
Take care.